Hello guys, welcome to another video. Now in this one I wanted to do a bit of discussion on Aftershocks because I've been doing a whole bunch of testing on Aftershocks and kind of taking a look at this mechanic to see exactly how it works and how Aftershocks work with other sources of Aftershock chance, how they kind of interact with each other. And so this video is going to be uncovering a bunch of bugs and things that don't seem to be working as intended with Aftershocks, and also showcasing some tech as well. So first of all, what exactly is an Aftershock? So let's just head over here on the passive tree to some Aftershock chance. This is the only place to get chance to cause Aftershocks on the passive skill tree other than on the Titan Ascendancy. So Split the Earth is a notable that says 10% chance to Aftershock for slam skills you use with maces, and 10% chance to Aftershock for strike skills that you use with maces. And then the one small note behind it here grants 12% chance to Aftershock for slam skills you use with maces. This is usually 8%, but we're gaining 50% bonus from the Titan Ascendancy. So together, these two nodes add up for 22% chance to Aftershock for slam skills you use with maces. Now an Aftershock, we can read it here. Aftershocks are bursts of area damage that occur after the initial impact of the skill causing them. If not otherwise specified, the Aftershock will deal the same damage as the initial impact in the same area. So, a way to think about this is it's somewhat similar to a repeated attack from PoE 1, only that your character doesn't actually repeat the animation. The attack actually repeats and deals the same damage again, but there's no secondary animation. The only other source, I think, of an Aftershock which is different from this kind of repeated same damage thing is on Earthquake specifically, which actually specifies that after a long duration, there's then an Aftershock which causes a lot more damage. But if you just have an Aftershock coming off of a normal attack that doesn't interact with Aftershocks in any way, it will just be a repeated attack basically in the same area, deals the same damage, and that's pretty much it. So, what does an Aftershock look like? Right now, on the passive tree, I have that 22% chance, and I don't have any other chance coming from anywhere else. I currently don't have this node spec'd on the Titan. I'll be dealing with that one later to show you what's going on with that one, but let's have a look at what exactly this looks like. So I just have Sunder here with no links, and you can see I'm just going to be using this attack, and there's a 22% chance that the attack will repeat. So there's a repeat there. So there's another repeat there. So that's pretty much it. It's basically a repeated attack in the same area, just without the character having to do the animation again. Now, there's a bunch of bugs with Aftershocks right now, so I'm going to go through them in kind of... I've got a list here of things that I want to discuss in this video, and I'll go through the list, and most of it is to do with bugs to do with Aftershocks. So first of all, let's talk about Aftershock chance. So there's a couple of support gems that interact with Aftershocks. Firstly, let's talk about Aftershock, which is just a support that simply applies a 25% chance for a slam skill, a supported slam skill, to create an Aftershock. So if we place this into Sunder, you'll notice here on the tooltip, the Aftershock chance will actually be displayed, 25% chance. But of course, we already have 22% chance coming from the passive tree, which means that these two sources of Aftershock chance are calculated separately. They're not additive. So we have a 22% chance to cause an Aftershock, and then another 25% chance coming in from this support gem to cause an Aftershock. And you'll actually notice this when we're using the skill, that they're definitely not additive. There's no way you could use this a bunch of times, and there's no way that we have a 45% chance to cause an Aftershock. We definitely just have one separate 22% chance, and then another separate 25% chance. But one thing that you'll notice when we use this ability is that we never proc both at once, and I'll discuss that in a little bit later, but what's actually happening sometimes is that both are proccing, but you just can't see it. So, that's bug number one, is that on the tooltip, you can't actually see the chance coming in from the passive tree, you can only see the chance there from the support gem. Now that one isn't that bad of a bug. The next one is quite a bit worse, and that's to do with Tremors Support. So Tremors is a support that was added right before Christmas. This didn't actually ship with the initial launch of the game. They added this very late, right before Christmas, and my guess is that this one wasn't tested very well before it went into the game. So Tremors is a support gem that applies individual separate chances to actually grant additional Aftershocks. So a 30% chance to cause one Aftershock, 15% for 2, and 10% for 3. And then obviously it makes the attack deal a lot less damage there, 35% less damage. So let's just take out Aftershock Support for now, and we'll place Tremors in there. So what happens now is we actually have those individual chances for the attack to cause a different amount of Aftershocks. But the problem with Tremors at the moment is that this doesn't actually have these individual chances to cause Aftershocks, as there's a bug going on where whenever you trigger one of these chances, it will always activate all of the ones below it and any other Aftershocks that you have on your character. So for example, if I trigger the 30% chance to cause an additional Aftershock, it will always trigger the other chance that I have to cause an Aftershock coming from the passive tree. If I trigger the 15% chance to cause 2 Aftershocks, it will also every single time trigger the 30% to cause an additional Aftershock and the one from the passive tree. And if I trigger the 10% chance to cause 3 additional Aftershocks, it will trigger the 15%, the 30%, and the one from the tree for a total of 7 Aftershocks. And I can showcase this on the character now. And what this basically means is that the Aftershocks coming from this attack will always be 1, if none of the ones on the support proc and only the one comes from the tree. 2, if the bottom one from the support procs, and that also includes the one on the tree. 4, if the 2 from the support procs, and that includes the 1 extra from the support and the one from the tree. Or 7, it will never proc 3 or 5 Aftershocks. So I can show that right now. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So that was a 10% proc right there, and it procced every other Aftershock behind it. Let's see if we can get another one here. 1, 2, there's a 2, so that means that the lowest one on Tremors procs, that's the 30% chance to proc, plus the one from the tree. One, 2, 3, 4. So that's a 4 proc, which means that the 15% chance for 2 Tremors procced. Then it also included the one below it for additional 1, and the one from the tree for 4. One, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So again, that's the 10% proc. I could continue doing this forever, and you can actually test this on your own character with the Tremors support. You don't need the other thing from the tree. You can just put Tremors in, and you'll notice that whenever one of them procs, it always procs all of the other ones below it. So in my particular setup, you'll never see a 3 proc or a 5 proc. It will always be 1, 2, 4, or 7. So, bug number 3 is Shockwave Support Chance, and the fact that one always triggers the other. So let's go over to the skill panel once again, and let's remove Tremors. We're done with that one for now. And we're placing Aftershock. Now, earlier I talked about how Aftershock chance shows up here and the other one doesn't. Now, the 22% chance that's coming in from the passive tree from these 2 nodes here are applying to the character. As I showed you earlier, without the support in the skill, I was still able to cause an Aftershock. The interesting thing is, when you have both of these things active, once you got the 22% chance coming here and the 25% here, you'll notice that there is never 2 Aftershocks. There's always only 1 Aftershock. Even though both of the chances to actually proc the Aftershocks are always there. Now, what's going on here is that actually, when it happens that you proc both of them, they are going off. They're just going off at the exact same time, and you can't see it in terms of animation. And I can actually showcase this here with some footage in the background. So this is me doing some testing on the monkey boss from Act 3. And how I've set up this testing is that I have a character that can inflict multiple poisons. And then you'll notice that every time there is no Aftershock proc, there's always 1 poison being applied. And whenever an Aftershock procs, there is always 3 poisons. There's never ever 2. So whenever you proc one of the Aftershocks, it always procs the other one, which kind of goes in with the thing that's going on with Tremors, which is that whenever one of those chances procs, it always procs all of the other chances below it. How this is working is that when one of those chances procs, whether it's from the passive tree or from the support gem, it always causes the other chance to also cause an additional Aftershock, and it's happening at the same time, you just can't see it. So you can see that whenever an Aftershock goes off, it applies 3 hits, and that those 3 hits are all applying a poison. So the next bug and the bug after that one are to do with totems. Now, totems are also bugged with Aftershocks. In theory, totems shouldn't be able to use Aftershocks, and we'll just talk about that briefly on the passive skill tree. Now, this first one is a little bit ambiguous in terms of wording. We've got 10% chance to Aftershock for slam skills you use with maces. Now, the key words there are you use. This one is a bit ambiguous, because if you go and have a look on the Titan Ascendancy, this is 20% chance for slam skills you use yourself to cause Aftershocks. So this wording is different. This is you use yourself, which is always a wording in PoE to basically make it so that proxies can't interact with this thing. You know, it's always just you using it, whereas the one over here doesn't really, you know, this is a bit ambiguous. This could also include totems, and this does work with totems. So this 22% chance here to cause Aftershocks does work with totems, and I can show that off right now. So in the background, you'll be able to see some totems using Sunder, and you'll notice that they are actually causing Aftershocks, and that is something that is possibly intended, or it might not be, but right now, those nodes on the passive tree are working with totems. However, something that is definitely not intended is the Titan Ascendancy working with totems. So the Titan Ascendancy, as I just mentioned, is 20% chance for slam skills you use yourself to cause Aftershocks. So this should only be working for things that you use specifically, but this node here is working with totems. So let's allocate it, and I can actually show you exactly what's going on right now. So I have a Shockwave Totem here, and Shockwave Totem is an attack skill that doesn't use or doesn't specify a weapon, you know, specifically. Whereas Ancestral Warrior Totem has to have the character using a mace to actually be able to use this skill. Shockwave Totem just needs you to use a martial weapon. Now, for what it's worth, I can actually say right now that I know for a fact that these 2 nodes right here do not work with Shockwave Totem. Even if you have a mace equipped when you use Shockwave Totem, these 2 nodes will not cause Shockwave Totems to Aftershock. However, this node right here does work with Shockwave Totem. So when you place a Shockwave Totem, it will have a 20% chance to cause an Aftershock. There's one there. There's another one. So for anyone who's playing Titan right now, I know that there's actually some pretty decent Shockwave Totem builds. You might want to use that node because it's quite strong. It's basically going to be on average a 20% more damage multiplier, and that is quite powerful. Now, this node on Titan also works for Ancestral Warrior Totem as well. So once again, it's not just to do with Shockwave Totem, this also works for Ancestral Warrior Totem. And the interesting thing there is what I discussed earlier with separate chances to cause Aftershocks. This node right here, it grants a 20% chance for slam skills you use yourself to cause Aftershocks. And you can see here, if I open the skills panel and take a look at Shockwave Totem, you can see that it actually has the chance to Aftershock right here. So it's actually in the Shockwave Totem skill info here, there's a 20% chance to cause an Aftershock. So this node is causing that chance. Over on Ancestral Warrior Totem, once I actually place an attack in here, so let's just place this attack here, we'll actually be able to see that that's exactly what's happening here as well. So there's the 20% Aftershock chance in the Ancestral Warrior Totem. The interesting thing here is, as I discussed earlier, when there's 2 separate chances of an Aftershock and one procs, the other one procs as well. So on Ancestral Warrior Totem specifically, if you have that chance on the tree, plus this stuff here from the Titan Ascendancy, you'll be able to double proc Aftershocks, and obviously that's a bug right now, but that is something that can massively improve your damage. Now, the last thing that I want to discuss in this video, also to do with Aftershocks, is to do with Volcanic Fissure. So this is perhaps a bit of tech which went under the radar a little bit, I'm not actually too sure, but Volcanic Fissure is an ability that's pretty weak, I would say, in terms of numbers. Unfortunately, this one does need a buff, but it does have a bit of interesting info here on the text. It says, using a slam on a fissure will cause an aftershock, which spreads to all connected fissures. Now, what this means is that when you actually create a fissure, for example like this, the fissure remains here for a very long time. It's 12 seconds base and it's increased by skill effect duration. Now, whenever you use a different slam, this will actually proc an aftershock which will spread to all of the connected fissures. However, there is something that you can do to avoid that use of a different slam. You can just cause the aftershock yourself, and that will have the same reaction. So if we place these nodes in here, one upheaval will grant extra fissures so we can see it more clearly, but we can also have tremors for a bunch of chance to cause aftershocks, and you can see what happens now. So, as you can see, as my game begins to completely lag out, we're just creating an unbelievable amount of aftershocks. The inbuilt mechanic of aftershocks spreading to fissures actually gets caused whenever you create your own aftershock on top of these attacks. So this is kind of nice for map clear. You can imagine as you're running through maps with this ability, you hit some mobs and then you move on to the next. And whenever you actually move on to the next targets there, the chances are your fissures are being connected, so any stragglers that are kind of left behind there are probably being hit by an attack whenever it actually causes an aftershock. You can see how much area of effect this is covering every time it causes an aftershock. So that's quite interesting there. Anyway, that's pretty much it for this video, guys. I wanted to make a video kind of discussing all of these bugs that are going on with aftershocks in the hope that this is going to be fixed soon, because I know that GGG are currently going through all of the bugs, and there's a lot of bugs right now in the game, so they're kind of going through all the bugs. They had a post yesterday where they were discussing, this is what we're doing, we're going to go through all the bugs first, and then they're working on a patch in the background, which is likely going to be a very large balance patch for the game, probably going to nerf a bunch of things, to be honest with you, because I think player power is completely out of control at the moment. But yeah, that was this video, guys, discussing some bugs and some tech with aftershocks. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.